Assalamu alaikum. Good morning to our guests today, and welcome. I am Fazia Dean, the Interfaith and Outreach Liaison for Dar Al-Hijrah, and in collaboration with Social Services and Sister Tahani, we're also doing a huge campaign against bullying in the Outreach Department. Now, we're working very closely with not just the guests you'll see today, but also with Voice. Voice is our interfaith and outreach partner. Today I'm here to tell you that this is just the beginning against the campaign against bullying. So please look, I just wanted you to know that for future reference for further bullying sessions, we will be posting it on the webpage, Dar Al-Hijrah webpage. Our government affairs is active with the White House against bullying issues. So please stay tuned and look on the web page for more sessions about bullying. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Officer Kate, for joining us today. Let's start, and if you would like to put this on your
I'm used to having a lot of stuff on me, so why not one more thing? So as I said, my name is Officer Kat O'Leary. I recognize some of you from previous parent workshops that we've done. I have been a police officer for 10 years. I'm actually from outside of Philadelphia, so I am a transplant. But I've been at this station and I've worked this area for 10 years and I wouldn't work anywhere else. We have really great partnerships. One of them is Neighborhood Community Services with Al-Hijrah, the school system. Of course, this mosque has invited us in and we welcome that partnership. So just a raise of hands. This is going to be a little interactive. How many people have children in this room? How many people have kids? And how many people have kids that are under 10 years old? Okay. How about under 20 years old? Okay. How many people, and you don't have to raise your hand for this, but how many people know if their kids are on the internet? Just think about it. And for those, in your mind, if you're thinking yes or no, how many of you have ever spoken to your kids about safety on the internet? Or talked to them about what is out there and what type of things they could be encountering? For a lot of parents, they don't know where to begin. The internet is huge. And if you think that your children are not on the internet, I can tell you that you are wrong. How many people have internet in their homes? Whether it's a home computer or a laptop. And who here has children that have cell phones? So I taught this class to a group of parents, and it was about the same, that they had some sort of computer at home that they allowed their kids to be on, but a lot of them said that either they monitored what their children did on their phone, or their children didn't have a phone. And so at the end of my presentation, I had a mom raise her hand and she said, I never thought about the fact that just because my child didn't have a cell phone didn't mean that she wasn't accessing the internet via somebody else's cell phone. So you have to remember that just because you monitor what they do at home, they go to school, right? And their classmates have cell phones or laptops or the internet. And so one of the big problems is that we do our best to monitor at home, but we can't really control what happens outside the door. And this mom in particular told me that she had taken away her daughter's phone because of something that had happened. And she thought that allowed her to control whether or not her daughter was on the internet. And she found out once her daughter left for school, her daughter was actually accessing Facebook via somebody else's phone. So she was using her friend's cell phone to check her Facebook account because kids are on the internet today. That's how they socialize. And so she said that what her daughter didn't realize was that she did not log out of the Facebook account on her friend's phone. So then her friend was posting on her account, and her daughter had no idea. So a lot of what we're going to go over today isn't just educating you, it's also taking that education to your kids, because they really are the ones that are interacting with it every day. So 95%, this is a stat, they did some research, 95% of kids between 12 and 17 are on the internet in some way, shape, or form. So that basically guarantees that your kid's going to be on the internet. And so you really have to figure out for yourself what it is, how it works, and what your kids are doing on it. That's all of your jobs. Hopefully I can help, but this is just the beginning. You're going to have to go home and learn more about what this thing is called the internet. Because if you don't understand it, how can you help your kids be safe on it? So one of the first things when we talk about the internet is, how do we stay safe on it? Who here, raise a hand, who here knows what a router is? Okay, so about half the room. So when you plug a computer into the internet, or your cell phone shows that you have Wi-Fi, right? Does everybody here know the term Wi-Fi? So Wi-Fi is this in-the-air technology that allows you to access the internet without any wires. So when you're at home, in order to get that Wi-Fi, there is a little box, and it has an antenna, right? So it's this middle one here, this right here. That's what you plug into, and that sends out the signal to get your Wi-Fi. How many of you, show of hands, set up your router in your home? What a lot of people don't realize, or they don't know because they didn't set it up, is that router comes with a password. That is your first line of defense. If you don't have a password on your router, that means that I can stand outside your house and access your internet without anything stopping me. And this is a lot of the ways that the predators work. So people drive around and look for open internet. If you live in an apartment complex or a condo, that means anyone in your building can pull up the internet and see that you have open Wi-Fi, and they can access the internet through your open Wi-Fi. So I challenge you to go home and check to see. That means you go on your computer, you pull up the area that shows you the network, and you look to see, does it require a password for me to log on to my internet? If it does not, you should add a password. Who here thinks that the password that comes with your router is secure? So when you go to AT&T or Verizon, or you go to a store and you buy a router, it gives you a default password. That is not a secure password. When you go on Verizon Wireless's website, they tell you that you should change that password. So if you are going with your default password for your router, you need to change it. Because when you search the internet and you look up what are the top 5, top 25 passwords of this year, guess what pops up? A whole list of passwords. And if you haven't changed your password, then it could be admin. It could be 1234. And if I'm a bad person and I want to get onto your internet, I'm going to start trying the top 20 passwords to figure out, did you secure your Wi-Fi, or are you using a default password? So what do we think makes up a strong password? Yeah, so capital letter, lowercase, and a symbol. Usually 8 characters is what they recommend as a minimum for a strong password. If you don't know how to make up a strong password, there are websites like Norton, Norton, that you can go onto their website and they have a password creator. You tell them how long you want the password to be, how many letters, how many numbers, and it will create a password for you. So if you want strong passwords, there are ways to get it. But yeah, make sure you change your password. So let's talk about public Wi-Fi. So people use their birthday, they use their mother maiden name, they use their dog's name, all the things that to them lets them remember it, but that does not make a secure password. No, absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out. So public Wi-Fi. Do we think public Wi-Fi is secure? No. So when you go to Starbucks, or you go to another coffee shop, or you go to a hotel, and it tells you, click here and you can access the internet, and it does not require each individual person to put in a password, that means that it's a public Wi-Fi. So just like at your house, if you don't secure your internet, anybody can get on it, good or bad. So that means we should not do what on public Wi-Fi? Yeah, online purchases, banking, anything where you have to enter personal information, you should not check on public Wi-Fi. What about, why do I put email addresses up, or email accounts up there? Why do you think you shouldn't check your email account on public Wi-Fi? Yeah, it can be hacked, absolutely. And also, what is in our email account? Our profile, emails from our bank, emails from our family, emails about maybe your home. So everything personal that we think we're keeping private in our email, the minute we go on public Wi-Fi, we leave ourselves vulnerable to have someone look at all those things. So make sure you don't check any of those things. So what can you do if you use your cell phone to check the internet? Without Wi-Fi, is that secure? So for example, I'm through AT&T, I'm through our county internet. If I log onto the internet right now through my phone service, not the public Wi-Fi, that is secure. If I then switch, because a lot of people will have it switched to public so they're not using their data plan. If I switch to public Wi-Fi so that I'm not using my data plan, that is then unsecure. If your children are at home and they want to use the Wi-Fi at the home and they enter the password for the Wi-Fi so they can access it through their phone, that is secure as long as your password is a secure password for your house. So we said that all kids are online, whether we know it or not. And we said that about 95% of the kids are online, but 77% of teenagers use Facebook. Does everybody know what Facebook is? So Facebook is a social media app that allows them to talk to each other, send messages, make friends. 56% of them, between the ages of 18 to 29, use auto-delete apps. What do I mean by that? Anybody know? Yep. So there are computer apps. So an app is a program that you can either download onto your tablet or onto your cell phone. And it allows them to play games, talk to each other. And so there are apps out there that you do auto-delete. So I send you a message, and I tell them, in 10 seconds, delete this message. And so the minute you get it, you read it, and it automatically deletes from your phone. So I would argue, this just does 18 to 29. I would argue that kids younger than this are using these apps. If our 18 to 29-year-olds are using it, our 16-year-olds are definitely using it. And isn't that convenient? I can send my friend pictures, text messages, and information that will delete immediately. And my parents and their parents and everybody else will never see it. So you have to be aware of these things. So Snapchat, Snapchat, and another one, if you do Kik, K-I-K. My biggest advice through this whole thing, because Al-Hijrah and I spoke, and I told her there's no way for us to get all this information into one session. So I suggested to her that she have a follow-up where we actually go into all these programs. where we go into the auto-delete apps, the most popular apps that kids are using. How do you use them? How do you control them? What are the privacy settings? And what are the apps that allow you to hide information? And for the time being, since we can't go into all of that, the best way to find the information is to what? Google it. What are the most popular auto-delete apps? And I guarantee there is a website that gives you those. For me, I Google searched, what are the most popular hidden apps? And I got a whole list of apps. So there are apps that will allow you to hide themselves. So if I want to send pictures to my friend, but I know my mom checks my phone and all my pictures, I can download an app that hides all my pictures from her. And it looks like a calculator. And it requires a password to get in. And if she doesn't know the password, it acts like a calculator. And so there are apps out there that are made to hide information. So again, hopefully there's a follow-up so we can go into more, but definitely educate yourself. And those two are the biggest two, especially Snapchat. 300. 300 is the average number of friends. So how does Facebook work? I want friends. I want to be popular. So I want everyone in this room to be friends with me. And then I want people I don't know to be friends with me, because the number is what's important to kids. And so 300 is just the average. But you will have kids that will have thousands of Facebook friends. And for them, that's a social status. Not to pick on you. Do any of your friends talk about Facebook or Twitter or any of those? Some of them. Do they like when they get friends? Yeah. I mean, it's important to kids. It's just as important as in the old days, right, when I just used to be friends with all of you. But for them, now it's, if somebody goes on my account and I have 1,000 Facebook friends, I am the person to be friends with, right? It doesn't matter if what? I know the people, right? If they're even from the same state. And so that rolls into, what are they posting on there that 1,000 people are now seeing? So what do we do about it? You have to talk to your kids. Facebook, cell phones, computers, it's a way of life nowadays. Taking that away is like banning them from talking to their friends. You have to understand that. You can't just tell them you no longer can have a cell phone, because for them, that's their entire life. So you have to educate them and yourself. Let them know if you want to use a cell phone and you want to go on Facebook, I'm okay with that, but there has to be rules. Who here has a child that drives? Okay, so your child turns 16, 17, and they want to get their driver's license. Do you just give them the keys and say, have fun? No, you don't. You maybe send them to a class, right? You send them to a class, you have them do a probationary period where they have to have another driver with them. You have to make sure that they're a safe driver and that they can be trusted behind the wheel. When they leave the house, you tell them, call me when you get there so I know you're safe. Let me know when you come home so I know what time to expect you. So you set up all these rules for a car. Why don't we set up the same rules for a cell phone? They're out there putting information out there, but we never set any ground rules. We just let them have it. We let them have a Facebook account, but we never talk to them about what's acceptable for them to post. And that's really important. So let them know. They can tell their friends things, but not personal details. They shouldn't be giving everyone their cell phone number. They shouldn't be giving everyone their birthday, their home address to a stranger, right? When you make a Facebook account, it asks you for all these things. Your home address, your phone number, your birthday. It wants all that information. And if they don't know any better and you never talk to them, they're going to put that information in there because they don't know that it might be harmful. So let them know, yes, you can have an account, but that doesn't mean that the picture on your account has to be their face. It can be of a dog or a cat. That way nobody knows who they are. Just because it asks you for your name when you set up an account, that doesn't mean that you have to have your account as your name. It can be a nickname. It can be a name that you come up with. So if I'm searching because I don't like someone, and I'm searching for them, what's your name? Nashla. If I'm searching for Nashla, and I type in her name and her picture pops up and her home address and her birthday and everything, all her friends, it's all public, that's not a good thing if I'm looking to do harm to her. Instead, if I search her name, I'd much rather not be able to find it. She can still be on there, she can still have friends, but only her friends know who she is. Only people that she trusts get to see her account. So let them know what's okay. Pictures you approve. Don't tell them they can't post pictures, because they're going to want to post pictures. Every account has pictures. But make sure you look at it and that it's acceptable to you, and allow them to post it. Let them know that maybe you don't want pictures of them and their siblings. You know, maybe you just want pictures of the animals or them playing sports, but make sure you have a conversation of what's okay. Make sure you let them know that they can have conversations, just not personal details, and you decide what's personal. So the bottom line, let them know they can talk to you, and if something happens that makes them uncomfortable, let them know they can come to you. If you never tell your child, listen, if a stranger reaches out to you on a social media app, if someone tries to talk to you and it makes you uncomfortable, come talk to me. I'm not going to be mad, but I want to know, because that could be dangerous. If you never tell your child that, are they going to know it's okay to come to you if it happens? Probably not. You would hope that they would, but chances are they might go tell a friend, well, what do you think I should do? And how well is advice given when it's a 16-year-old giving another 16-year-old advice? Oh, don't tell your parents that. They're going to get really upset. Instead of saying, gosh, this guy reached out to me on the internet. He wants to meet me. He sounds older. I don't know what to do. You know what? My parents told me I could come talk to them if this happens. So make sure they know they can talk to you. Establish rules. We talked about that. Go through the privacy settings. So again, not enough time to go through each type of social media app, but Google search it. How do I control privacy settings on Facebook? And it will bring up websites that have dedicated themselves to teaching people how to control privacy settings. My favorite one is YouTube. You can go on YouTube and figure out anything. You want to fix your car, you want to bake a cake, same thing. There's some websites on the handouts that can help you as well. How does Twitter work? What is Twitter? What is Snapchat? You go on YouTube, you type in, what is Snapchat? And there is a website that has a YouTube video that explains what it is and how it works. So if you don't understand, make sure you do your research on it, because there's just not enough time in a presentation to help you guys with everything your kids are using. Help them make a strong password. So each social media app that they use should be password protected, and make sure you help them so that it has all the strong characters that it needs. Masking your identity so that only your friends and trusted people know who you are is important, but it's also used by predators. I would push that one step further and say that just because a stranger reaches out to you saying that they're a 13-year-old girl, does that mean that they're a 13-year-old girl? No. We have a video, if I can pull up at the end on YouTube, that will show you, that goes into examples of that. So anyone that tells you don't tell your parents or don't tell anyone I'm talking to you, that's a red flag. But who needs to know that? The kids need to know that. That's where it's important for you all to talk to your kids. Yes, and never give your location. That's part of, don't give out your address. That's another part of that. So if they ask you, hey, where do you live? You know, I'm from the same school as you. Where's your home? I live in Falls Church. I go to Jeb Stuart High School. And you say, oh, well, I live in Falls Church too. Oh, really? What neighborhood? They're going to try and pull information out of your children. That's where you have to explain to them, if someone asks you for these things and you don't know who they are, do not give that information out. There was a question?
Yeah, she said her kids using Snapchat and Kik and Facebook. And how she gonna, you know, to be sure that she gonna make them feel safe inside home or inside the school? What's the steps that she gonna, you know, follow to do that?
Talk to them. You know they're going to use it. You know they are using it. So you're going to have to sit down with them, and that's one of the reasons for the handouts. Kind of a good segue. I'm going to borrow one. So these handouts, so this one that kind of looks like a brain, this handout is for kids, so they can see this. All the information in here can be shared with your kids. But this one is kid-oriented. It talks about what to do if they see something, if somebody reaches out to them. So make sure that they see this. There's another one in the English version that talks about sexting. This is another one that kids can have. Have this conversation. Go through these packets with your kids so that you understand what they're doing. And then let them have this, right? So if something does happen, they know, wait, I know at some point my mom and I talked about this. I've got this paper somewhere that tells me what I should do. So at least they'll have this as well. It talks about, for you, how to protect your kids online. There's an English and Spanish version. And then there's a family media agreement, and I apologize because there's no Spanish version of this, but there's a family media agreement. Take the time to go through this. You do not have to use this agreement. It goes through by ages. And then in the back, there's a contract. This is just a suggestion, but it's something that you can start the conversation with your kids. Hey, I went to training today. Here's some information that I got. Let's go through it together. I want you to be safe online. I'm not stopping you from being online. I like that you're online, but I want you to be safe. So let's talk about this. So stranger danger, big term people like to use. You start talking to your kids about strangers when they're how old? 2, 3. As soon as they comprehend, right? Because kids are growing up with cell phones, stranger danger is now online danger too. So as soon as they're old enough to learn about it, that's when you should be talking about it. And these contracts actually go all the way to kindergarten. One thing and then I'll get to you. On this front side, in English and Spanish, I highly recommend for my Spanish speakers is go to the websites. They have videos. It might not necessarily have this contract, but the videos teach you about everything I'm talking about. How to talk to your kids, there's videos about that. There's videos for your kids to watch. For my English speakers, same thing. There's actually games for little kids that they can start playing that not only go into cybersecurity and bullying, it goes into anger management, how to deal with your emotions, because that starts when they're little. They don't know how to express themselves. And so these games go into all of that. And it's a fun, interactive way for them to learn about it. And then it takes the pressure off of you on having to explain it to your kids. And that's what these websites are geared for. They are meant for parents, educators, and children to learn about how to be safe. The bottom one is the Fairfax County policy. So if you don't know what Fairfax County does when cyberbullying, bullying comes up, you have to educate yourself so that you know if your child is bullied or if your child knows someone that's bullied or experiences cyberbullying, you know that you're not alone and that you can report it to the school and that they will investigate it. So it's in all different languages. Spanish, the website's right on there. English speakers, this is the website. It does have Arabic as an option In the top right-hand corner is a language button, and it goes through like 10 different languages, and it will change the website to your language. So use these packets, use these websites, let them help you start talking to your kids, okay? Because there's professionals out there that have tried to make it easier for you. Did that answer it? Yes, that's where I said. So if you go on now, the first two websites where it says educate yourself, I do not know if those are in Arabic. You'll have to look. But the Fairfax County website is in Arabic. It has that option to change it to Arabic. Yeah, and so pictures, the big question, and sexting is up here. If you don't know what sexting, it's when they send nude or partially nude photos to either a friend, somebody else. So the person that sends them is committing a crime, and the person that receives them is committing a crime. So please have this conversation with your kids. Kids don't understand. They have a boyfriend, or they have someone that they like, or they have a friend that they want to impress. And maybe they've talked for a number of months, and they feel comfortable with this person. And this person says, send me a picture of yourself without clothing on. And maybe your child is like, well, I'm not going to do that, right? Why? Because parents tell them, don't make anyone force you to do something that you don't feel comfortable with. But then the friend says, well, I really like you. And if you really like me, you'll do this. I won't show them to anyone. And then they push, and they push, and they push. You send me one, and I'll send you one. I promise I won't show it to anyone. And so your kid gives in, and they send that photo. Does that photo only go to one person? No. That photo goes out to the world. Once they press send, you have to explain to your kids, once you press send, you have no control of where that picture goes. They can post it online, they can forward it to half the school, and then that's where the bullying starts. So not only does the sexting happen, but this usually rolls into cyberbullying and bullying, because now that problem gets bigger. That person might hold on to that photo until they're no longer friends with your son or daughter. And then the minute they're no longer friends with them, that's when that photo will come out. So have the conversation. If somebody asks them for those pictures, make sure you tell them, come tell me. Don't send any pictures. Come and tell me. No one should ask you to do that. If they send a picture, they need to know that they can come talk to you before it spirals out of control. So are you going to be mad as a parent? Probably at first. Let's be honest. You will probably be furious that this happened. However, I ask that you remember you have to keep that line of communication open with your kids. Yes, you can be angry, but they have to know that they can come talk to you. So let them know. I may be angry, but you can always come talk to me. We will help you. You are not alone. All those things so that your child knows that even in the worst of times, they can come talk to you because you will help them. And if you don't tell them this, they won't know it. So in her job, in case you didn't hear, they will use terms like I like you, but they will also use terms like I love you. If your child does not have many friends, if they have low self-esteem, if they have a friend who has low self-esteem and doesn't have a lot of friends, those are the people that are the most vulnerable because they want the attention. And on Facebook and on the social media sites, it's all about what? How many friends you have. And so they want the friends. They want that social status. And they could easily fall victim to that if someone gives them attention. You're beautiful. I love you. I want to be with you. You make me so happy. All these things that your child or your child's friends might be craving. And unfortunately, it's someone with bad intentions that is giving them all that attention. And so, yeah, it is really easy for kids to fall victim. But make sure they know they can talk to you. So the big thing is that if your child receives a picture, so let's say that their best friend sent a picture of themselves naked to their boyfriend at the time or girlfriend at the time, and then that person broke up, and suddenly your child is receiving that message. You need to go to the police station and let them know that your child has received that message. Your child is part of it now. Even though they did not send it and they did not initially be the ones that received it, they are still part of it. So what they need to do is provide that information to the police so that we can help end that. Because if we don't know about it, then it keeps going and it keeps going. And so for the kids that are kind of on the outskirts of it, that just received the message via somebody else, those are the ones that we want to come forward so we can figure out who got it, how did they get it, so that we can find that main person that was part of it. The one who sent it. Now for the one that sent it, a lot of times they are victims, right? Because they get convinced to send the message. So truly for those that are victims that are sending it out, it's the ones who are forcing them to send it out that is usually the focus of the investigation. But it gets hard when 100 people have the message and it's posted online, and now we have to figure out who was that main person that asked them for it. Sexting is actually a specific crime. Yeah. So it's its own code section now. And they teach kids about this in the public school system. So your child already is getting education on this, which is a good thing. And so for you guys, it's more following that up with, please come tell me. Don't keep this to yourself. Let us know if this happens, because they're already learning about it. And we talked about all of this, with the big one being that it rolls into other bigger problems. So bullying. Bullying's a little bit more obvious when it's, one kid that's the victim of it and it's something physical that you can see. Cyberbullying's harder because it's happening without us even knowing it. It's happening online where you might not necessarily see it, where your child doesn't come home and it's not apparent that they're getting bullied because all of it's online and they're hiding it from you. So talk to your kid about the fact that they can get bullied online and let them know to talk to you about it. They might not know that people picking on them online is actually bullying. And so that's where we tell people there is that main victim. So there is that person that's getting bullied online. That's the focus of everyone's attention. But there's also the bystanders, and the bystanders can do something too. So that's where you have to let your kid know, don't be the one bullying someone online. It's not okay. It's not okay to make fun of other people online or to call them names online. Kids like to do it because it's what? It's almost anonymous online. I'm not face to face with you. So if I call you a name, it doesn't affect me as much because I don't see her reaction. All I see is a computer screen. And then once I make fun of her online and you're my friend, I say, oh, you should make fun of her too. And you might not want to, but what's it hurting, right? You don't see her. You don't see that she gets upset when she receives it. But everybody else sees our messages because everything's public nowadays online. And so now people in the school that don't even know her are laughing at her because of what we said. And so cyberbullying becomes huge without us even knowing it. So make sure if this is happening to your child, or if your child tells you it's happening to their friend, save the messages or print the messages. That way when you go to the school to report it, you can show them exactly what's going on. Pictures, anything that's being sent. Block the number or the account. So if it's text messages, You can block the number. iPhone lets it block you. You can block numbers immediately on an iPhone. If it's an account, Facebook, Twitter, things like that, you can actually block that person from being able to access your account. And then if it spirals into a bigger problem, set them up a new account. And this is a big thing why creating an account that's not connected to her specific name is important. So if I'm looking to make fun of her and she closes down her account and opens up a new one with a name that she came up with that only her close friends and family know and people she trusts, it's a lot harder for me to find her and bully her online if I don't know where she is. And so last case scenario is close down the account and open up a new one for them. So it says, if you can't see it from up there, what does IDKLY and TTYL mean? So this is the mom asking. And the child answers, I don't know, love you, talk to you later. And the mom answers, okay, I'll ask your sister. So do kids have a totally different language? I mean, yeah, we all had one, right? My generation had one. I can tell you that my generation doesn't understand the generation below me. So again, what's my favorite answer to everything is Google it. There is a website called Urban Dictionary. Urban Dictionary. It cut it off there, I apologize. Urban Dictionary. If you Google search Urban Dictionary, you can enter any phrase, name, short acronym, and it will give you the translation for it. It is the parent's answer to kids' language, right? What are they saying? I have no idea. Yeah, so Urban Dictionary. I can tell you as a police officer, I did investigations prior to this. I interviewed plenty a bad guy. I spoke to many teenagers who were involved in breaking into cars, breaking into houses, and they would tell me that they hit a lick. Hit a lick, L-I-C-K, and I'm like, I have no earthly idea what that means. So I go to Urban Dictionary and I type in hit a lick. What does that mean? And it tells me that they're breaking into something. So they were confessing that they were breaking into something, except they were using terms that they understood to be breaking into something. And of course, I'm looking for a layman's term. I burglarized a house. I broke into a house. I broke into a car. But that's not how they talk. So if they show you a message and say, Mom, this person's being mean, this is what they said to me, and you're like, I have no idea what that means, ask your child, what does this mean? What did you post here under that picture? I don't understand what that is. And they might say, it means you're beautiful. And you're like, okay. But if you don't know Urban Dictionary, Google search the terms, because they talk in acronyms because it's faster. At half the time, I have no idea what people are texting me. So some of them were ASL, is age, sex, location. So this is big with predators. They know that parents are reading text messages or friends, and so they'll do acronyms that the parents won't understand. BRB is be right back. M or F, male or female. Kind of a red flag if somebody's asking your kids if they're a male or a female, in my opinion. LGH, let's get high. POS, parents over shoulder. Always good to know if that's in a message that you're seeing. That means that something that they were talking about, they didn't want you to know about because they're telling their friends, you can't tell me, my parents are right there. That brings up, Alejandra brought up a point, so kids can toggle between two different screens. So you might walk by them and they might be looking at puppies and rainbows. And then the minute you walk away, it was Alt-Tab. Yeah. But just know that your children can minimize what they're looking at. So if you walk by them, one of the suggestions that Alejandra mentioned was they can use their computer, they can use their cell phone, they can use the internet, but it has to be in a room where other people are. Right? This is a privilege. You're the boss. You pay the cell phone bill. You bought the cell phone for them. You control when and how they use it. It's just like driving a car. You control when they get the keys, what time they have to be home. So the family contract talks about You know, once dinner time comes, that cell phone gets turned off and you can't use it again. Or you can use it to do your homework, but then once your homework's done, that's it, you can't use it anymore. So allow them to use it, but set up parameters and control how they use it. You have a right as a parent to do that and to know what they're doing online. Okay, so she said that in certain cultures, different things will go to girls and not necessarily boys. Is that a good translation of that? And so it's equally important. So the internet and what kids do and their safety on here is not male only or not female only. Yes, females are more likely to fall into some of these situations. There are predators that go after females, that try and get females and lure them out of the house. However, there are just as many male predators looking for young boys. So it's equally important for you to have this conversation with your son, because there are predators out there that are not looking for females. They are looking for males. It's just as important to know what your son is talking about, because they are just as likely to interact with drugs as a female. And so boys have a tendency to hang out, just like girls have a tendency to hang out. And so you're right, it's not just females that we're talking about. This is boys too. You have to have the conversation with all of your children, because this is all of your children can be vulnerable to this. And it's your job as a parent to educate them, regardless if they're a boy or a girl. Yes, it's also important not to tell the boys not to become predators. So letting the boys know it is not okay to ask a female for private pictures. It is not okay to talk to a female and she is not an object, okay? It's important to talk to your boys about respect. What is a respectable way of complimenting a girl? What words should you not describe them as? What words is it okay to describe them as? These are all part of helping your kid grow up. They don't learn this stuff from their friends. They learn this stuff and they mimic this stuff on their parents. If their friends at school are calling girls sluts or whores or other terminology, and that's acceptable to them, they're going to start using it because it's acceptable. It's in the environment they're in. So it's your job to say, that's not acceptable. A girl is not a whore. A girl is not a slut. So it's important to have conversations with them on how they should talk to people. So the next video is a young girl. This is a YouTube video that she created, and it goes into the full gamut of what we were talking about. So I want to have you watch it, and then I want to talk about looking at it as an outsider, what could we have done as her parents to help avoid what she went through. So this young girl hangs out with her friends, and she video chats with them. So kind of like Snapchat does video, the Apple iPhones do video, Skype does video, and so they would talk back and forth on the videos. And her friend, as a joke, asked her to flash the screen. She was among friends. They talked all the time. It was all girls. She thought it was harmless, so she flashed the screen. Months later, she gets a message through Facebook from a complete stranger. His Facebook profile picture was her boobs. And he said, I want you to send me videos and pictures of you. If you don't, I will put these pictures all over the internet. And so, not knowing where she could turn, she sends him videos and she sends him pictures. Those pictures and videos end up going viral. Everyone at school ends up seeing these pictures. So what happens? She starts getting bullied. She starts getting called a slut. She starts getting called a whore. Everyone at school, she starts losing friends. So now she's being bullied online. She's losing her friends at school. She attempts to commit suicide. She drinks bleach and attempts to commit suicide. That does not work. She's unsuccessful. She is bullied for attempting to commit suicide because she was unsuccessful. So they make fun of her for it. She doesn't even know how to kill herself. She ends up, things got better. She starts to kind of pull away from this, and she has a boy that likes her. And the boy flirts with her, and she feels like, you know, he's going to be the boyfriend. And then she finds out that that boy actually has a girlfriend, and this is all a joke that she didn't realize. The girlfriend shows up at school and beats her up in front of everyone. And so she goes on to basically say that, you know, she has feelings, and this kind of gets her nowhere. Sadly, tragically, she does end up successfully committing suicide. So this video is actually available on one of the websites. I pulled it off of there on that front page. It is an extremely emotional video to watch. But as a parent, with everything that this poor girl went through, what are some things, looking back, that we could have done to help avoid this? So she was basically saying she's a grandmother and she has a granddaughter, and this reminded her of a caption that she saw where it had a baby born in the hospital, and they had the parents looking at the baby saying, you know, oh, how beautiful, she's got her mother's eyes and her father's nose, and the baby's inside thinking, do they have Wi-Fi in here? And so she's saying that cell phones, this is their way of life. This is how they communicate. And so for her, she talks to her granddaughter and builds self-esteem. Lets her granddaughter know self-worth, that she is beautiful. And what does that do? That allows her granddaughter to have confidence in herself so that she does not have to look elsewhere to get those compliments. And that's one of the things with this video is that, I think I remember the name, is that she did not get attention the way she should have got attention. She got attention through people being friends with her online and strangers that she didn't know telling her that she was beautiful. What else could we have done to help prevent this? I saw another hand up. So if she had talked to her parents from the beginning and said that she made a mistake, maybe her parents could have figured out who was part of that chat. If it's all her friends, then let's start making some phone calls to the friends' parents to say, we need to get this off of the account. You know, this happened, my daughter came to me, we need to get this off. So yeah, her knowing that she could go to her parents in the beginning is a huge part of it. Yes, absolutely. So if, you know, this is embarrassing, probably one of the most embarrassing things a child is going through, right? To know that that's out there. And she might feel ashamed, or he might feel ashamed or embarrassed to even think of telling the parents that they did something like that. So yes, school counselors, youth group leaders at the congregation, those are all means of outlets. So let your kids know, if you don't feel comfortable talking to me, talk to your grandparents if they have a good relationship. Talk to the school counselor. Make sure you tell somebody about what's happening. Anything else? I think those are the big ones, right? Is letting your son or daughter know that they can come to you, letting them know that they can come to somebody, and then teaching them that self-worth, teaching them to have confidence so that they're not looking for that attention elsewhere. So the day after she posted that video, she did successfully commit suicide. So, she did the video herself. She posted that herself. So I guess there's a lot that kind of comes up in that video. This is obviously years of struggle in her life, but she points out the obvious. This happened in my past, and I can never get it back. And she constantly gets confronted with that again and again. And one of the hard things, and I'll take your question, one of the hard things with it is, a lot of this is friends, people that she thought were friends, people at school that she didn't even know. And so it's not just the victim of what's going on, there's all this outside stuff that kind of happens. And it is a conversation with youth group leaders. It's a conversation with your kids where if you see this happening, it's important to reach out to those people because clearly she switched schools and it kept coming up. And so for her, this was kind of this never-ending nightmare that unfortunately, she did end up giving up. Yeah, I think it stimulates conversation, which is part of the reason I like it. It's tough to watch. It's tough to watch someone going through all of that, and it does kind of force you to say, like, where were the parents? And it's good for you to ask that question because it reminds you that you play a role in your child's life. And if you choose not to get involved in your child's life, things can happen that spiral out of control, and your child can get to the point where they don't know how to handle it, and they handle it in a negative way. And so it is important to, from the beginning, kind of establish those things with your children. Teach them how they should act. Teach them that they can come to you so that they know that they're, not in this dark place alone, and that they should talk. So it should stimulate kind of conversation in that way on what would we have done? What would we have done from the beginning so that this never gets out of control like this? Yeah, and the sad part is that she turned to social media to express herself about what had happened. And if that doesn't tell you that kids are so connected to the internet and social media, I mean, this poor girl had no other outlet than to post a YouTube video asking for help. And so, yeah, I mean, what was available to her or what was not available, that was her only way out, was to post on social media. It's sad. When I do this presentation at school, do I show this video? I show this video to all the parents and children that I get invited to speak to. The video that I show is actually a condensed version of that, but it gets kind of the same point across. Yes, because I do think it's important. One, I think it's important for youth to realize consequences to actions and to realize just what can happen and how badly it can spiral out of control and how bad bullying is to the person being victimized. So if they're just that bystander, that they know that if they step in, they can prevent something from getting this bad. And then the same thing with the parents, because I think parents need to realize what is going on and what could happen, worst case scenario, and then think about what would they do to prevent that. One of the other comments was that parent-teacher conferences are extremely important for you to understand what is going on with your child at school, because things like this can be happening that maybe you don't know about. So understanding how they're developing at school, how they're interacting with other kids. I mean, you wouldn't know that your child does not eat with anybody at lunch unless you go to those conferences. And they do have help if you don't speak English, so they can get translators available to help you. But it is extremely important for you to stay involved in your child's life, and parent-teacher conferences are a huge part of that. So thank you for coming. This is a huge step that shows that you care about your children, that you care about their future, and hopefully you continue to come to these classes. I'm going to clean up, but you're more than welcome to come up and ask me questions while I clean up.